beginnings, all right? Actually, surprisingly, I'm a first-born Malaysian, so first-generation Malaysian. My parents are from China. They don't speak a word of any, no Bahasa, no English. They only speak one dialect, and one dialect alone. So it was a very hard life, but a happy childhood, very, very happy. I grew up in a town called Kuala, where actually everything you just press the accelerator a little harder, you miss the whole town altogether. But it was a great little town, great childhood, but very, very, very hard life, for my parents and kids, of course. So because it's hard life, 6 of us crammed into a little room. What do you do in a small town? I look for an escape, and my escape was actually 2 things. Reading books, after school, what I do is I go to the library, read all the books I can until I can go and play games, because I love sports. I truly love sports, and so 2 things occupied me, sports and reading. And I played everything, and sports is still a love for me till today. My husband actually said, you should have been a guy, because your favorite channels are the news channel and the sports channels, which is very unusual. And I have been just vegetating out over the last 2 weekends on, obviously, the World Rugby, Of course, I was quite gutted that, Dan Carter is not going to play for the whole rugby series now, and he's going to be replaced by Colin Slade, who's, I think you can't compare that eye candy with Dan Carter. It's just not the same, all right? I was a lazy student. I think a lot of small town people, they don't study because the first thing you want to do is just get out and work for your family, or get a job in a shop or something. I was lazy, but good thing I guess I did well because I listened to the teacher in the class. So I was fortunate, absolutely lazy. And, in a small town like Kuala, they don't have Form 6, all right? So back then, the politicians were very good, I had an MCA rep, who actually offered scholarship for the top student in Form 5, so I got it. And actually, I didn't even want to take it, But in life, I guess you do get some lucky breaks, all right? So, that's a bit fast. So I was offered to study, but I didn't do it. I said, the lucky break came in the form of a rep who was representing this MCA guy, and he came and said, look, young girl, I'm giving you this scholarship, why aren't you going to take it, You're just wasting your life, don't you want a better life for yourself? And I went home, thought about it, and I decided, yes, I'm going to take it. Coming from a small town, it's quite a venture actually to go to a city like Kuala Lumpur back then. So that started my if you like, journey to PwC. So I did my 6th form, never studied again, because you don't have the discipline when you're young, you're not going to have the discipline going forward as well. Right? And I said, lucky breaks do happen to people in different times of your life. And for me, I had quite a lot of different people coming into my life. And I guess the first lucky break I had was, I met this guy, who had a good head on his shoulders. Of course, after graduating Form 6, I had no clue again, what to do. He actually wrote a lot of applications for me, and one of it landed in PwC. Rather, it was called Pricewaterhouse then, not PwC until our merger, of course. And I went for the interview, I got the job, and that was how I started with PwC, as an auditor. And for those of you who are auditors here, any auditors here?
Soon to be. Soon to be.
Oh, okay. Yeah, we work very hard, but I can tell you, being an auditor sets you a fantastic foundation. You build skills like analytical skills. You're detail-oriented. Your mind is very structured. So it's fantastic, So I wasn't sure this was. I did okay. I passed my CPA exams, became a CPA. Again, fortunate, that I passed. Studying wasn't my cup of tea, but, God has been good to me. I managed to pass. And again, you say, oh, what do I do? Okay, I'll just carry on with it. As I said, in life, there will always be lucky breaks. And that came in the form of my managing director, who was a very visionary guy. And PW then was growing very fast. He said, Sifan, we need somebody to start up a training department. Why don't you do that? I said, training? What's that? I've never heard the term, all right? And there's no such thing as saying no to the bosses those days, as you know. It's either you do it or you get out, And part of me, I guess, and I think this is what a lot of women grapple with, it's you in the front line, which is in the main part of doing all. You ask me to go to a back room, well, I'm not ambitious, but, I'm so, I'm not sure whether this is going to get me far. This is really back room. But as I said, I had no choice. I went there. This was starting a training department from scratch. We actually went and looked for a building. I created the curriculum. It was really starting from scratch, developing the technical curriculum for our auditors, and then through to exam training as well. And I thought, wow, this is, in a way, it wasn't my calling, but yeah, I'll do it, What was good about that period was, I was happy to stay there, because it gave me time for my family and my kids. I had two young daughters. It's a fantastic time for me. I could spend time with them, as well as go on holidays with my husband. So that was wonderful. So I thought, okay, mosey around. Then my boss said, you've done training now. Big firm need a HR department. I really need you to go and sort out HR and start HR. Those days, your audit partners or your tax partners, the HR person running it. I said, HR, what does that stand for? All right. And you see, I was just blind, I just went into it. And anyone from HR here who's doing a HR role? I always have I have bucket loads of respect for anyone doing HR, because in my mind, HR is one of the toughest jobs I have ever done, because, the operational side of it is amazing. The admin work, your paperwork just goes on and on from, recruitment to whatever, and then your salary, your increment, everything. Of course, I've created systems and structures around it, but you also need strategy. Even back then, you've got to think about it. It was really tough, but it honed on my skills of dealing with different stakeholders, from the people, the staff to your bosses, and trying to find, because it's a very emotional job, because HR is a job where you can never please anyone, all right? It's always a tough situation. It's about also bringing people to come to a common ground, and having the strategy to keep and retain your people. So not very, very different. This was one of my hardest jobs, I would say. So after many years, I thought, okay, my boss said, oh, you've started the HR department now. How about a business development center? Because, accounting firms also need to market themselves. They need to build new clients, blah, blah, blah. So what about you doing it? And I said, oh my God, yet another new one, But I have to say that this was one of my, I think the area where I really found my niche, because it played to my strengths, right? Because of my role in training, so I developed skills in putting my points across, in putting programs, in structuring programs, and trying to communicate the ideas across to people. And in HR, it was all about engaging different stakeholders and, looking at the detail as well as the strategy. So it played to my strengths because I was good at connecting the dots. I could engage the stakeholders, and I have a love for branding the firm, right? And one of the key things here that I did, I guess, and I learned, was actually building teams. Now, the business development unit, when I first started, it had one person. Today, I have, just under 30 people. And what we do is we do marketing and communications, and from events to media management to regulator management, the whole works. And then business development, obviously, in terms of keeping our clients happy, making sure we win new work, getting dirty in the pitches, proposing for new work, knowledge management, and of course business research. So it's quite a wide range. And over the years, one of my challenges, as I said, I found my niche here, and I found my love as well, because what excites me is about building teams. And one of the biggest challenges in my team is managing the diversity, because I manage from Gen Y all the way to baby boomers. I manage people who are digital migrants to digital natives, which means that people who never used a computer until they came to work, and people who actually were born into it. And the diversity actually is very challenging, and I've gone through a lot with the team, but the thing that I'm most proud of is seeing a lot of my people grow. And I guess they, some of them are here today, and it's been actually quite tough because, they always say I set very high standards because my boss was the same. If you reach here, I'll push you here. You reach that space, it's a constant push for them. And I want to give a shout out to my team who are really good. And it's about managing them, but sometimes it's really, really painful for me as well. When they come together, because I have people who are graduates in economics, IT, communications, multimedia, and throw in an engineer as well, all right, young and old. It's how we bring them together with the diverse skills, and that has always been